Good day, students. We are still on variation, and today we will be considering partial variation. In partial variation, we have two types of constants. We have a fixed constant, and we also have the varying constant. So if we have any problem on partial variation, you must understand that it has two types of constants. We have the fixed constant and the varying constant. Now let's consider an example to this effect. Now R is partly constant and partly varies with E. When R is equal to 530, E is equal to 1600. And when R is equal to 730, E is equal to 3600. A. Find the formula which connects R and E. B. Find R when E is equal to 1300. I've told you earlier that anytime you are having any problem on variation like this, you must always look for the formula or relationship that connects them. Either you are told to look for it or not. Though in this question we are told to look for the formula that connects them. So now and I've told you that in partial variation you have what? A fixed constant and a varying constant. So if we use A and B, A to represent the fixed constant and B to represent the varying constant. So they said R is partly constant and partly varies with E. So straight away we may not need to put the proportionality sign. We just say R is equal to, we have a fixed constant A plus B, which is the varying constant. So they say R is partly constant, so it has a fixed constant, and partly varies, the varying constant, with E. So you now put E. So R is equal to A plus B E. So we are told that when R is equal to 530, E is 1600. Let's substitute this into this equation. So that means we'll be having R is what? 530 is equal to A plus B is, we don't know B, then E is 1600. So that means we'll be having 530 is equal to A plus B times 1600 will give us 1600B. So this can still be written as A plus 1600B is equal to 530. Now you take this to be your equation 1. Then the second part says that, and when R is equal to 730, E is equal to 3600. You substitute that into this equation again. So R is what? 730 is equal to A plus B. E is 3600. So you having 730 is equal to A plus B times 3600 will give you what? 3600B. This can still be written as A plus 3600B is equal to 730. Take this to be your equation 2. So since we are having two equations like this, you are going to solve simultaneously to be able to get the value for E and B. You use solve simultaneously. So I'm going to use elimination method. So the first equation, A plus 1600B is equal to 530. Then the second equation, A plus 3600B is equal to 730. So if I use elimination method, so I'm eliminating A. So if I introduce a negative sign here, A minus A will give us what? 0. So you are left with 1600B minus 600B is what? Minus 2000B. Then 530 minus 730 will give us minus 200. So from here, you divide by the coefficient of B, which is minus 2000. When you divide by the coefficient of B, divide both sides by the coefficient of B minus 2000. So you realize that here, minus 2000 divided by minus 2000 will give us, will remain B here. So that means we have B is equal to, when you now do minus 200 divided by 2000 minus 2000 to the lowest time to give us 1/10. So the value for b is 1/10. From there, you now substitute b is equal to 1/10 into equation 1. So when you substitute it into equation 1, so that means you are having what? Our a plus 500b, 1600b, in place of b you put 1/10 is equal to 530. So then 1600 times 1/10 will give us 160. So that means we'll be having a plus 160 is equal to 530. So from there, you bring this plus 160 to this other side. It is plus here. When it comes here, it now turn to negative. H is equal to 530 plus turn to negative and minus 160. So our A equals 530 minus 160 will give us 330. So we've got the value for A to be 330 and B to be 110. So you now substitute it back into the very equation. A, you substitute it back into R equals A plus B in E. So you've known the value of A and B, you are going to substitute. So that means we'll be having R equals A is 370 plus B is 1/10 times E. So that means we'll be having R will be equal to 370 plus 1 times E is E/10. So this is now talking of the relationship between R and E. So for this particular variation, you take this to be the formula. Then it will now be easier for us to look for the second part of the question, which says find R when E equals 1300. To find R when E equals 1600, so you take R is equal to 370 plus E/10 to be the formula. You will now substitute the value for E to be 1300, so which is this. So R is equal to 370 plus 1300/10. 1300 divided by 10 will give us what? 130. So you now have R is equal to 370 plus 130. 370 plus 130 will give you what? 500. So it means when E is equal to 1300, our R will be what? 500. Now, let's consider another example. Now, example 2. We were told that the charge C of a telephone company is partly constant and partly varies as the number of units of call. The charge C of a telephone company is partly constant and partly varies as the number of units of call. The cost of 90 units is 1,120 and the cost of 120 units is 1,216. A. Find a formula which connects C and U. B. Find C when U is equal to 150 units. Now, from the question, we are going to let C be equal to charge or cost of telephone. So we make C represent the charge or the cost of the telephone, and U, we are going to use it to represent the number of units of call. So this question said the charge of a telephone company is partly constant. So that means you just say C is equal to, we have here, since we are talking of partial variation, the fixed constant we are using A to represent it, and the variable constant we are using what? B to represent it. So that means C is equal to A plus B times U is the total number of units of call. So they said that the cost of 90 units is 1,120. So you are going to substitute it. So if the cost of 90 units is 1,120 is equal to A plus B times the number of units, 90. Then this is the same thing as saying that 1,120 is equal to A plus b times 90 will give us 90b. So this can still be written as a plus 90b is equal to 1120. So we take this to be our equation 1. Then the second part says that, and the cost of 120 units is 1216. So you are going to substitute it again. In place, C is what? 1260 is equal to A plus B times 120 units. So same thing as saying 1216 is equal to A plus B times 120 is what? 120B. So this can still be written as A plus 120B is equal to 1216B. This is our equation 2. So from here, you are going to solve it simultaneously. So you solve simultaneously. So that means our equation 1 is 1000. Our equation 1 is A plus 9B is equal to 1120. The equation 2 is A plus 120B is equal to 1216. So you subtract equation 2 from equation 1 so as to eliminate A. So A minus A will give us 0. Minus times plus is minus. 90B minus 120B is equal to minus 30B. 1120 minus 1216 will give us minus 93. So it means that for you to be able to solve partial variation properly, you must be able to solve simultaneous equation very well. And you can use any of the method. If you don't want elimination method as I'm using it, you can use substitution method. Any of the method you want is still applicable. So minus 30b is equal to minus 96. So you divide both sides by the coefficient of b, which is minus 30. So that means the value for b can be what? Minus 96 divided by minus 30 will give us 3.2. So you now substitute the value of b into equation 1. Substitute b is equal to 3.2 into equation 1. So that means when you substitute into equation 1, so that means we have in place of a, you put 1100 and okay, so our 1120 is equal to our a plus 90b. So in place of b, you put what? 3.2. When you put 2.2, so you have 1120 is equal to a plus 90 times 3.2 will give us 288. So if you bring this plus 288 to this other side to give us minus 288 is equal to a. So 1120 minus 288 will give us 832. So the value for a is 832. So from here, you can now substitute into the equation. So our C is equal to A is what taken to be 832 plus the B is what 3.2 U. So this is the relationship that connects C and U. The cost of telephone call and the number of units. So this serves as the formula for this particular variation. So then the question now says that when U is equal to 150, what is the value of C? So you are now going to use this as a formula. C is equal to 832 plus 3.2 U. You will now fix 150 for U. So that means you have 832 plus 3.2 times 150. 150. So that means you have C is equal to 832 plus 3.2 times 150 is 480. So when you add these two, you are having 1,312 naira to be the cost of 150 units of telephone call. Now, let's look at the work practice. For the work practice, number 1, x is partly constant and partly varies with y. When y is equal to 3, x is equal to 11. And when y is equal to 4, x is equal to 14. A. Find the relationship between x and y. B. Find x when y is equal to 10. Number 2. D is partly constant and partly varies with V. When V is equal to 40, D is equal to 150. And when V is equal to 54, D is equal to 192. A. Find the formula connecting D and V. B. Hence, find D when V is equal to 73. Number 3. The cost of making a dress is partly constant and partly varies with the amount of time it takes to make the dress. If the dress takes 3 hours to make, it costs 2,700 naira. If it takes 5 hours to make the dress, it costs 3,100 naira. Find the cost if it takes one whole number 1/2 hours to make the dress. Then number 4, the cost of a car service is partly constant and partly varies with the time it takes to do the work. If it costs 3,500 naira for a 5.5 hour service and 2,900 naira for a 4-hour service. A. Find the formula connecting cost and time. B. Hence, find the cost of a 7.5 hour service. Then number 5. A telephone company makes up its monthly bills as follows. A fixed charge of 800 naira plus a charge proportional to the number of units of call on the telephone. If it charges 2 naira per unit of call, calculate the total charge on A. 80 units, B. 150 units, C. 782 units. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe to this video. Thank you.